On a swellish August evening in 1977, something shocking and sad happened in Memphis, Tennessee. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, collapsed in the bathroom of his home. He was just 42 years old. This sudden death sent shockwaves around the world. People couldn't believe it. They had just seen him perform on TV, looking vibrant and full of life. News stations scrambled, showing images of fans in disbelief, their faces filled with shock and grief. Newspapers ran special editions, analyzing not just his music but his impact on culture. Elvis was more than a singer, he was a phenomenon. Elvis's death was like a bolt of lightning in a clear sky. It stopped the world for a moment. Fans gathered outside Graceland, his home, their voices rising in a mournful chorus. The media went wild, dissecting every part of his life, from his rise to fame to his struggles. But amid all the analysis, one thing became clear. Elvis was, and still is, a giant whose shadow looms large over music and pop culture. Elvis Presley wasn't just a singer, he was a force of nature. Born in 1945 in a small town in Mississippi, Elvis grew up in humble surroundings. Music was his escape, his solace. By the time he was a teenager, he was already performing in local clubs, his voice raw and powerful. People talked about his voice like it was something magical. It was rough like sandpaper on a guitar string, but it had a deep, soulful quality that captured hearts. Elvis's early music was a mix of country, blues, and gospel. He blended these styles in a way that was entirely new, creating what we now call rock and roll. Songs like Heartbreak Hotel and Hound Dog showed his unique talent. His performances were electrifying. On stage, he would move with a swagger that seemed to shake the very air around him. It wasn't just about the music, it was about the show, the charisma, and the connection he made with his audience. Elvis didn't just change music, he changed how people saw rock and roll. In the 1950s, rock and roll was seen as rebellious, even dangerous. But Elvis took it and made it mainstream. He broke barriers, appearing on TV shows like The Ed Sullivan Show, where millions watched him perform. His music crossed racial lines, something unheard of at the time. Elvis's ability to appeal to both white and black audiences was revolutionary, but his life wasn't all glitz and glamour. Elvis faced his share of challenges, including military service and personal struggles. Despite these, he continued to create, releasing hit after hit. His later years saw him delve into different genres, experimenting with gospel and country music. Yet his core identity as the king of rock and roll remained unchanged. Elvis's death at 42 was sudden and tragic. The world mourned not just for the loss of a musical genius, but for the loss of a cultural icon. His influence extended far beyond music. Elvis inspired countless artists, from Mick Jagger to Michael Jackson. His style, his sound, his very presence on stage left an indelible mark on pop culture. In the years following his death, Elvis's legacy only grew. Documentaries, biographies, and tribute albums kept his memory alive. People continued to visit Graceland, hoping to feel a connection to the man who had captured their hearts. Elvis Presley may have left us too soon, but his music and his spirit live on, a testament to the power of a voice and a dream. Elvis Presley's death changed how we say goodbye to famous people. Before Elvis, people like President Kennedy and Sir Winston Churchill had very calm and serious funerals, but Elvis' death was different. It was big, loud, and full of emotion. This way of saying goodbye has become normal now, especially for stars we love a lot. When Elvis died, it was like nothing anyone had seen before. People cried and screamed in a way that seemed too much, but it showed how much he meant to them. This kind of reaction became a pattern for when other big stars died, like John Lennon, Michael Jackson, and David Bowie. It shows how our society, especially with the help of media, has changed over time. Now people almost compete to show how much they care. Elvis' death stands out because of the tribute acts, people pretending to be Elvis. There are so many of these acts, in bars, clubs, and big stadiums. Most of them copy the Vegas version of Elvis, the one from later in his life. This tells us more about how people remember Elvis than Elvis himself. Some tribute acts try to be funny, like a Scotsman calling himself Elvis Presley, but not all tributes are light-hearted. Some people believe Elvis is still alive, even faking his death. This idea has been around since his time, like with Adolf Hitler. It's strange that this kind of belief didn't happen for other famous people who died around the same time. Another interesting thing is how some people see Elvis as more than just a man, like a god or a savior. This happened because Elvis had a special charisma that set him apart from other singers of his time. Despite his problems like making bad movies and songs, his star power stayed strong. Elvis could have been just another great singer of his time, but there was something unique about him. Colonel Parker, his manager, might have known this and kept Elvis separate from other stars to maintain his special image. Elvis didn't work with many big names of the time, which helped keep his mystique. Yet Elvis faced challenges too. He made poor choices with his music and movies, yet his fame didn't suffer much. He was known for eating insane amounts of food and having a love for all things extravagant. His personal life was also complicated, with many questions about his relationships and behavior. As we look back on Elvis' life and legacy, we must consider both the good and the bad. His influence on changing attitudes towards race in America is one positive side. However, there are also shadows, like the racial views of some of his close associates and his own behavior. Elvis' life was a mix of genius and mistakes. His story raises questions about fame, identity, and the price of success. His impact on music and culture is undeniable, but so are the questions about how he lived and died. As we remember Elvis, we remember a man who was larger than life in more ways than one. Elvis Presley, often called the king of rock and roll, had a special connection to certain songs. One such song was An American Trilogy. This song tells a story about America through 3 different songs stitched together. It starts with a song about cotton, then shifts to a song about war, and ends with a song about hope. Mickey Newbury, a singer-songwriter from Texas, wrote An American Trilogy. He performed it for the first time in 1970 at a club in Los Angeles called The Bitter End. This was his first big show on the West Coast. Newbury was nervous but hoped to impress the audience. He began with a song called Oh, I Wish I Was in the Land of Cotton. This song was popular in the South before the Civil War, but it became controversial later because some people used it to support ideas of white supremacy, even though the words themselves weren't racist. To balance this, Newbury sang the Battle Hymn of the Republic. This song was written during the Civil War and became a favorite among those fighting for the Union. Newbury then sang All My Trials, another song about the struggles of the Civil War. The audience was moved by this powerful performance. They clapped loudly after he finished, showing they appreciated the unique way Newbury had presented these historical songs. Elvis Presley heard about An American Trilogy through his wife, Priscilla, who told him about it. Elvis loved the song right away. He remembered hearing Dixie played by an army band when he joined the army in 1958. He also knew the Battle Hymn of the Republic from a funeral he attended for Senator Robert Kennedy in 1968. Elvis thought about performing the song live before recording it. He believed it truly represented who he was and what he believed in. However, his manager, Colonel Parker, was hesitant. Parker thought it was too focused on the Civil War and worried it wouldn't be popular. But Elvis wanted to record it himself, so he made a live version at the Hilton International in Las Vegas. This version was released as a single in 1972. The single didn't do as well as Elvis hoped. It reached only number 66 on the charts, but Elvis didn't give up. He included the song in his live shows, using it to express his identity and values. Colonel Parker missed a chance to make this song a huge hit. If Elvis had waited 4 years, it could have been a big success during the bicentennial celebrations of America. To understand An American Trilogy, we need to look at the history of the United States. After winning independence from Britain in 1776, the country faced many challenges. The Second Amendment, which allows people to own guns, was adopted in 1791, but the country was deeply divided over slavery. Many southern states rich from cotton farming wanted to keep slaves. They seceded from the Union, starting the Civil War in 1861. Leaders like Abraham Lincoln and Andrew Johnson, both from the North, opposed slavery. The war ended in 1865 and slavery was abolished. However, the South still felt strongly about states' rights and the issues of the past. Songs like An American Trilogy capture these complicated feelings about America's history. Elvis performed An American Trilogy many times on stage. For him, the song was personal and important. It showed his connection to his Southern roots and his beliefs about freedom and unity. Even though the song didn't become a massive hit, it remained a favorite in his repertoire. Elvis used the song to express himself and connect with his audience, showing that music can be a powerful way to tell stories and share feelings about history. In the end, An American Trilogy is more than just a song. It's a piece of American history wrapped in music, reminding us of the struggles and dreams of a nation. Elvis Presley's performance of it shows how music can bridge the past and present, helping us understand and feel the complexities of our shared history.